Yeehaw! Howdy, folks. RL here to invite you to DQ. Dairy Queen is serving the crispiest, juiciest, most tasty chicken tenders, all beef chili dogs, and quarter-pound cheeseburgers on earth. And you get crispy fries, a drink, and an ice cream sundae of your choice for only $5. Remember, at DQ, you can lick their cones, but you can't beat their shakes. Dairy Queen, Silver Springs, where they always treat you like kings and queens.
We are The Source, WOCA, news, talk, sports, and more.
All right, thank you. 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Nice looking Tuesday. Beautiful, actually, looking Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. You know, Robin, what was it, about a week and a half ago, we were presenters at an award ceremony.
Uh-huh.
And the award ceremony was for young video makers in our community who attend local public schools.
Yeah.
Not just public. I mean, it's all the schools, right? Don't they all get involved in this? And anyway, the one thing that strikes you, because we were not just presenters, we were also the judges, a month earlier?
Yes, wonderful.
And so the one thing that strikes you when you're judging these kinds of things is that, you know, all of the technology that makes us able to capture vivid images and almost 3D-like things, although they're 3D maybe in the higher price range, but the kids that we judge didn't have that technology.
Yeah.
But still, it doesn't matter. The story is absolutely the first thing that must be well done. It must be a well-crafted story. Our next guest is going to tell us about an award ceremony he was at, and it's the 2014 Writers of the Future Achievement Awards. He is John Goodwin. He's been with us before. He's the president and publisher of Galaxy Press. He's a board member of the Audio Publishers Association. They were kind enough to send us a whole load of the Pulp Fiction audiobooks a few years ago, and I know that our listeners, every time we gave them away, we didn't have enough. So
yeah.
Mr. John Goodwin is also a member of the Science Fiction Writers of America and the Mystery Writers of America and the Dubai Press Club, which I understand they have an enclosed ski resort in the desert.
That is so
in Dubai.
Amazing. Amazing.
And the other thing that's amazing is, you know, that ski resort, I was just being silly about bringing it up, but it really is there. It was somebody's thought at first. And that's what writing is. It's somebody's thought. And that's why science fiction is often amazing, because if you look at old science fiction, you see devices that we take for granted now, and you forget that when that writer wrote that stuff, he or she thought it and put it on paper, and somehow it materialized. It's like a mystery, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
How this all happens. And anyway, so there's so many things we could say, but let's not say anymore. Let John Goodwin do the talking. Good morning, John. How you doing? It's an honor, by the way, to have you back on our show.
Good morning, Larry. Thank you very much for having me back. And you too, Robin. Very nice to be here again.
And where are you right now?
I'm here in Hollywood, California. I'm a block west of the Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, man.
Wow.
See, I fell in love with that place a few years ago, and I always want to go back. So what's the weather like right now?
It's not dissimilar to what you have in terms of the constant climate here, but there are some clouds which will be burned off in the next couple of hours. But otherwise, it's going to be in the mid-70s and holding steady. It warmed up into the... About last week, it got up almost to 100, so it was definitely inclemently warm.
Oh, really?
But otherwise, it's been in the 70s. It's interesting because we are desert here, and last year was the worst weather, rainfall on record, with like 3 inches of rain. So it's, you know, where all you hear about is how, you know, the perfect weather and this and that and other thing, but it is so dry that's, you know, so the fires that are happening like in Southern California were pretty easily predicted, because it does heat up, and with the dryness, it catches, and it's just instant kindling.
Yeah. When I was out there, the LA River had no water in it. Does it have any water in it usually, or is it usually dry?
It's usually dry. I mean, the main purpose for the LA River, you know, and we'll use that term very loosely, river.
Yeah, right.
Is the purpose of it is for runoff, because it is a desert. So whenever you get water, it doesn't get absorbed into the ground. And because also in Los Angeles, there's so much asphalt and concrete, there's no place for it to absorb anyway, so it just runs off. And it's and that's even itself is predicted too. Like if there's any major rainfalls, that's not enough to handle the runoff, and it's still going to create problems. But be it as may, that's the purpose of it, is as actually a runoff drain.
By the way, I hope you take this the way I mean it. You are a good-looking guy. You could. Are you an actor at all? Yeah, I mean, you're in the right place to be one.
Yeah. No, maybe you consider me an actor trying to, being in publishing, trying to.
That's a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
So,
but it's well, thank you very much, first of all. But no, I really enjoy all aspects of literacy, and anything I can do to enhance the desire and the joy of reading, I like to do. And so I've ended up in this. I get to travel a fair bit, and I enjoy meeting all kinds of people and of all ages. And so I'm heading off on Monday for New York for the Book Expo America, which is the big trade show for the book publishing world. And so I'll be doing that, and then a week later I'll be delivering our Golden Age Theater. I think you've had one. Joni Seagull's done one of the shows in studio before.
Yes, and we're in a new studio now in the local mall. It's the Paddock Mall. So we even have bigger space. So last time she was here with like 8 actors or something.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was
a radio
great.
play.
Yeah, that's great. So I'll be going to, like I said, New York in New York City, and then I'll shoot up to Buffalo for a few days to do some shows up there, then down to New York again the following week for some shows, then to DC, then to Nashville, and so I get to. Like I said, I really enjoy meeting a lot of people, and the various boards I'm involved with also gets me to travel and meet people, which that to me is the best trade-off.
What is the Hollywood Central Park? It says here you're a board member of that. What is that?
So you're familiar with Hollywood. So the 101 freeway, which is the Hollywood freeway, there's about a little over a mile section of it, which was actually dug out as a trench. So you've got street level, and then about 27 feet below that is where the freeway runs, and so instead of having the bridges, the overpasses going over, they just connect both sides of the freeway. So what we're doing is we're going to put a cap over the park for that 1 mile, and it'll give us 44 acres of park space.
Oh wow!
And so there's several cap parks around the world, at least around the United States, and the purpose of it is for Hollywood because it's got the least amount of green space of any community in California.
I bet.
And so this will give us the acreage there, and one, it'll clean up the air from the Hollywood freeway that's generated.
Right.
And then it also, with that much foliage, it's going to create a lot of oxygen, which a lot of the studies have shown that there's the illnesses from kids from just not having good air to breathe gets greatly reduced, and also it helps on the gang stuff too, because now you've got a place you can have organized soccer fields, you can have baseball and softball and stuff like that, which kids can get involved with.
That's amazing.
Which you don't have.
And the freeway would literally be underneath it.
Yeah. So you have the freeway goes underneath that. Yeah, it's amazing. A lot of the mall in Washington D.C., that's a cap park.
I didn't know that.
That's fascinating.
What's underneath it?
Yeah, so underneath there is the streets in D.C. There's right all around the.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You can drive underneath them all?
Yeah.
Wow.
I never knew that.
That is amazing.
So you go like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. And there's about 50 of them around the United States.
Wow. You know what I was thinking of, but it sounds much bigger. It sounds like, how they took that elevated railroad track in New York City that they no longer use, and they made that into an elevated park, like a linear park.
Exactly. It's called the High Line. And the guy there, Phil Ahrens, who is the CEO of that park, is the CEO of our project as well. And so he's definitely got experience in doing this. It's a slow push because obviously it's a change, but one thing that it does do is also helps to heal the community, because when the freeway was first put there in the early 50s, it divided the haves and the have-nots. And so this puts it together again. It's going to be open. It's not going to be a closed-off park, and we're making sure too that properties are available so it doesn't get fully gentrified and rules out all the people that we're trying to put it there for too. Because there's about 40,000 kids that don't have parks here in Hollywood. So, and a lot of the schools are done on.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. So we need to get to the topic of writing and the writers. But I can connect the dots here, because that, again, like anything else, is somebody's idea, and somebody, and a writer does Well, except for the fact that a writer articulates it in an artistic way, I guess you would say, it's still a collection of ideas.
Exactly, and that's why this contest that was created in 1983 by L. Ron Hubbard is a real important aspect to the continuance of and furtherance of science fiction and fantasy, at least in America. But as it gets more international in scope around the world, the whole idea being was when it was started in 1983, Mr. Hubbard had the idea of providing a means for aspiring writers for their works to be seen and acknowledged. And due to a success, 5 years later, its sister illustrator contest was then formed, and so now we just celebrated 30 years, and in that time there have been numerous winners who have gone on to become major best-selling authors of science fiction and fantasy. There's been over 600 winners that we've recognized. It's a few more writers, about 350 versus 275 on the illustrators.
Oh, wow.
But it's still, these people have been honored and recognized, and I don't know are you very familiar with the genre science fiction and fantasy?
Well, through the show, I mean, we have a lot of science fiction fantasy writers that come on the show, and when I say a lot, I would say maybe one a month.
Okay.
It's not tons. I mean, most of our guests have some nonfiction stuff, but we have fiction probably every week, at least one, and maybe science fiction once a month.
Yeah. So the main thing about science fiction and it provides an interesting story in and of itself is that was the last genre that Hubbard actually wrote in, and when he created this contest and just the whole thing of science fiction, you were talking about. Somebody had to think the thought first before it became reality.
Right.
And that was the whole thing. It was like science fiction is the herald of possibility, and it's where the person that's conceiving it. I wonder, what about that? And so, you don't have a certain type of device. So now you work out how to get some pieces of metal and you twiddle them together, and it stirs stuff, and now you have an egg beater. But before that happened, there was no. You just had.
I know. It is amazing. Here I'm sitting at the window and looking at people going into the mall, and every time they walk up to this door, it opens up by itself. And that was science fiction at one point.
Yeah,
that's right. That's exactly right. And so that's what it makes the Writers of the Future especially exciting, at least for me, because I read a fair amount. I have to, just because I have to keep up with the industry. And with Writers of the Future, you have these winners that aren't stuck with a certain format they need to write in. Like right now, Stephen King has to write a certain type of a story, or Dan Brown, this is the kind of story you expect him to write. And he's kind of like, so these guys don't have that. They can write whatever, and it's just amazing that the concepts that they have. Steampunk, which is a popular subgenre right now of science fiction and fantasy, I was reading that in Writers of the Future about 10 years before it became mainstream. So
really? Oh, wow. So why are writers typecast in that way, the way you just described, when you would think that a creative mind would be creative? It's almost like if you listen to any musical artist who tries to do something different, like Paul McCartney. It still sounds Paul McCartney-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They've got their sound. They've got their groove, and it's also a big part of it is marketing, where and maybe part of it too is because they're really good, with what they do. Like there was a certain author that wrote this series of books called Harry Potter.
Right.
And she did great. She then decided to use a pen name and come out with a mystery book that the editors, first she had trouble getting it published, and it got kind of like poorly reviewed. And then it was revealed, this author is the same author that wrote Harry Potter, and her name happens to be J.K. Rowling. So all of a sudden now it becomes international bestseller. So...
Wow.
But that's not fair, is it? So in other words, the critics dissed it, and then they found out it was what's the name? J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling.
And so
all of a sudden, then it went crazy. So it's a bit like once you're known for something, then it's kind of like it's America, or maybe it's the world, but definitely America is so specialized right now. Even how many GPs do you know in medicine? They're all like, they're specialists in this or specialists in that.
Right.
And people just kind of lock into that. So it's that way also with writers, but with these new guys, they don't have. There's no expectations for them at all. So they can come out and just go.
Oh, that's a good observation. Yeah. You know, I want to share with you an observation that Robin and I have talked about. The fact that we interview authors a lot made us aware of something, because we also interview movie makers, not as many as authors. But here's the funny thing about this. Is that the world, at least if the microcosm that we speak to, that represents the whole world,
Right.
the microcosm is separated into three groups. There are the readers, and then there are the moviegoers. Now, I said three because there is a middle group. And the middle group is sort of like the park you were talking about. It connects the two groups. It's the audiobook listeners.
Right.
Because, well, with the exception of our blind friends who listen to audiobooks because they have no choice, there's a certain segment of the population that really doesn't read. They prefer movies, but when they hear us talking about a book, the first question they have is it available as an audiobook?
Yeah.
So I think that's the bridge that connects the readers to the moviegoers.
It is, and it's interesting you bring that up because we do a lot with audiobooks. I think you've heard. I mean, obviously you've heard our Golden Age Theater in our audiobooks.
Yeah, you gave us a whole bunch to give away.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yeah. I hope, if you listen to them, there's this, and that's part of our catchphrase, though, is listen to a movie, because you're right, there are those people that when they're exercising, when they're just doing their chores around home, driving, vacationing, it is that bridge where they want to have that quality, well, I'll use the term, that's not even the right term, when they're used to the movies, and it does make that bridge over to being able to read a book and enjoy it as though a movie where you're using your own mind's pictures.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that too, actually. But because of what we do, we I think the one group that I do the least of is watching movies. I'm more likely to read a book, listen to a book, and then now and then the movie.
Yeah, I'll watch a movie rarely, which is kind of funny for me here in Hollywood. But given an opportunity, I much prefer I'd rather, if we went out for an evening, I'd much rather sit down, at a table or go out and walk around somewhere and just talk rather than go to a movie. Because once you're in a movie, the lights are down and then it's like that's it. There's nothing. There's no more discussion. No learning things. And seeing a movie to me is, and I said right here in the heart of Hollywood, is kind of like sacrilege. Saying what I'm saying.
Another aspect of your Writers of the Future is that the writers are allowed mentorship.
Exactly. One thing that we that's provided with the contest is that the winners, and we've got thousands of entries that come in, and we've got, I think it's 169 countries where we have entries now from both contests. So it's quite international in its scope. But what happens is the top winning 3 writers and illustrators each quarter are flown in, and there's a week-long workshop where we have our judges will spend a full week working with them on the business of writing, on how to hone their skill. It's not like this is the way you write a story. It's already, you're having won the contest, you already know how to do that. So you've got some people like Jerry Purnell who'll go over how to write hard science fiction, and you got somebody like Tim Powers, who's a World Fantasy Award-winning author. We'll talk about writing fantasy, how to see to a story. He'll take a year to write a book, where you got somebody else like Kevin Anderson, who can do like 6 books in a year. So whatever your flavor or your style is, we've got somebody that can help give you some tips that you can then put into your ability to enhance your ability to write and to work. And then we also, like I said, have one workshop just on the business of writing. When do you quit your day job? And then I do about a 5-hour seminar on PR. How do you do interviews? How do you talk about your story? Because one of the best ways to shoot down a budding career is to go out there, do an interview, and say, so you got a great new story. Yep. And it's science fiction? Uh-huh. And so
right.
Well, thank you very much. We wish you well.
Yeah. We interviewed one of the winners. He lives in the village.
Yes.
It was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I had to refresh my memory. I looked it up. Roy Harden was his name. Do you remember
Roy? Yeah, absolutely. He's a great guy. We have another winner also from Fort Myers this year. His name is Timothy Jordan. So he's a little bit south of you, but still we have another Florida person. And I'm a total believer in media and doing the radio and TV and print stuff to make it known, because you've got so many people that are aspiring to become writers and artists, and there's so little encouragement, unfortunately, in society today. And these are industries that you're by yourself. You don't write with a group of people, you don't paint with a group of people. It's like yourself doing it.
Right.
And so it's important to have things to let people know, hey, come on, keep on going, give it a shot. Don't give up. You've got what it takes, because we need the arts, and even all the more so right now because of the more mechanizing of the world, and do it the easy way and take it easy and don't work too hard and all this stuff. You need somebody that can really appreciate the arts and is willing to go that extra distance, which is what we do with this contest.
And the arts are very historical. When we were up in New York, we went to the Museum of Natural History, and there's pottery. There's like vessels that people used to eat out of, to drink out of, from the BC era, and they're all decorative. They're all very fancy and everything, and that's what art has been over all of the years from the beginning of time. And that's why it's so sad to see art taken out of the schools, people being deterred from being artists, that they have to be more scientific.
That's right. No, that's absolutely correct. And that's one of the biggest things we're trying to do here with both contests, is just to reinforce and to encourage people to become artists. And whether a person ever wins the contest or not, it's the fact that they're trying and that they're working at it to appreciate and be involved with the arts.
John Goodwin is our guest, and we are talking about everything under the sun, and we only have about 4 minutes, so I want to make sure we get in the important stuff we need to talk about. The 2014 Writers of the Future Achievement Awards is part of this visit with us today to invite authors to enter their work?
It is. What it is it's speculative fiction, so it's science fiction and fantasy, and the objective here is, for if you're not professionally published before, to enter the contest. You can find specifics on the rules by going to the website, which is www.writersofthefuture.com. But if you go there, you'll find out the rules. But it's for aspiring artists and aspiring writers who have not been professionally published, and it runs every quarter, so every 3 months. And again, the calendar dates are listed on the website too. You can enter one time a month, and there's no fee. So we now have it so you can upload electronically, so you don't have to worry about postage, because one thing that aspiring writers and artists are notorious for is being broke.
That's right.
Right.
So we have it now. So there's no fee for entering, no fee to have to upload and submit either your story or your 3 pieces of art, and then you're contacted if you're a winner. But anybody that enters will receive an acknowledgement saying, thank you very much for your entry. So anybody that enters will be acknowledged for having entered. But then the winners will be, the finalists and winners are called and told, and then the winners, of course, are informed that they're going to be flown out to Hollywood for the awards ceremony. But it's like I said, that's the purpose of it, and we did the 30th year just occurred, where we just finished publishing L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future Volume 30. And this year, one thing that's made it a bit different is we also have short stories by some of our judges. So Orson Scott Card, who's the author that wrote Ender's Game, has a short story in there.
Oh, wow.
Mike Resnick, who's winning a short fiction author on the planet Dead or Alive, has a short fiction in there. And we also have a short story written by L. Ron Hubbard. And then there's the essays from the judges on the business of writing and art. And then one thing that's different too is this year the format is called a trade paperback, so it's like a hardback book, except it's soft covers and it's that size. And so now in the back of the book we have the big 4-color images of all the winning art, which makes it really gorgeous.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Well, we could have spoken longer time, John. I'm pretty sure of that. So the website that we need to let the listeners know about is?
www.writersofthefuture.com.
Okay, excellent. John Goodwin, it's an honor and it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. One of these days we'll meet up with each other, and if you have if the winning author from the South Florida wants to be on, we would love to have him. It doesn't have to drive here. You can do it on the phone the way you're doing it. So.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely let Carmen know so that he can get in touch with you about that.
Okay. John, thank you for being on with us today, and thank you for all the things you do. You make the world a better place.
Thank you very much, Larry, and have a good day, Robin.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
Habitat for Humanity of Marion County is a ministry dedicated to improving lives by providing affordable and decent housing. Help them help others by visiting the Habitat for Humanity Ocala Restore at 926 Northwest 27th Avenue. To schedule a donation, give us a call at 401-0075 and we'll come pick it up. For more information, visit ocalarestore.org. Habitat for Humanity of Marion County. Building homes, building hope, building community.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. An armed standoff in the Libyan capital